Hello, beautiful people. Hope everybody's had a great week. I just want to say thank you guys very much for listening and watching, paying attention. Thanks for all the feedback. I really appreciate your support. So let's get down to business. This week I had a great call with my coach, and I don't know if this ever happens to you, but sometimes somebody can tell you a very, very simple thing, but it comes off very profound, especially when it comes from somebody that you admire and that you respect and you look up to. And my coach this week said something that was very simple, very basic, and it kind of caught me off guard, and I've been thinking about it for the past couple of days. But he said something that I think I sort of knew, or deep down in my mind or deep down in my heart, I sort of was aware of. But when you hear it from somebody that you have a lot of respect for, a lot of admiration for, somebody that's very accomplished and successful, and not just successful in business, but successful in life, it just kind of hits you different when somebody that you look up to or somebody you admire says something that you know to be true, but you've never actually heard somebody else say it. So it's just that much more powerful when you hear somebody, like I said, that you admire and respect and look up to say something, and then it really sticks with you. But during our conversation this week, he said something that I've been thinking about, and what he said was, and like I said, this is very simple, but it came to me, and it was seemed very profound at the time. And I've been thinking about it, so I'll share it with you. But he said that resourcefulness is a very valuable skill, and not very many people have it. It's actually extremely rare. And that's something I had never really thought about before. And once he said it, and I've been thinking about it for the past couple of days, and I've started sort of looking around my life, and it's true. Like I sort of knew it, I guess, deep down, but I never really thought about it, never really put any time thinking about it or looking at it from that vantage point. But that particular, I don't know if it's a character trait or a personality trait, or if it's something that we learn and we gain over time, but it is rare. It's extremely rare, and it's not out there everywhere. And when I look around my proximity in my daily life, I realize that resourcefulness is a very valuable skill, and not very many people have it. So what he said is very true. There are so many people that lack what to me seems natural, because I guess it's just something that I've had for a long time, is being resourceful and making the best use of your resources and whatever you have and making the best of it. I tell people sometimes that I have this trait that is good and bad, and that trait is I can make something out of nothing. Like I can literally turn, nothing into something, and that can be good or bad. I can take something that somebody says or something that somebody does, and I can take that to heart and take it personal and turn something into nothing. But on the other end of the spectrum, I can take nothing and turn it into something positive, whether that be a career or a business or jobs for other people or donations for other people. I can take nothing and turn it into something, and that is sort of a resourcefulness that has value. And if I use it appropriately, being resourceful can be very helpful, not only to me but to other people, and it is extremely valuable. I'm sure there are people around you, people in your life that it could be something simple like a family member, like a dad or a grandfather that, let's say they didn't waste anything, or they were able to, let's say they're a woodworker or something, and they were able to turn, scrap pieces of wood into art. That is a resourcefulness that not very many people have. So it's valuable, and it may be valuable on a small scale in that example, but that can be used in a positive light to help other people. So I don't know if this is something that happened to me or something that I learned to do over time, just growing up not having a lot, so I became resourceful and learned to make the most out of little or the most out of nothing. And like I said, it goes good and bad, but being a resourceful person is very valuable, especially when you're on a team and you're trying to build something, you're trying to grow something. Being resourceful is a skill set that not everybody has. So I think that may be something that, myself, I overlook it, and it might be something that you overlook in yourself, that being resourceful is valuable, and it may not show up in paperwork all the time. It may not show up in the bottom line all the time. and it may not show up in your relationships on the job, where people may like you more or less because, let's say, you're an introvert and you're resourceful. That doesn't necessarily turn into being popular or being liked in the group, but your skill set is extremely valuable by being resourceful. And again, it may not show up everywhere. Like for instance, one way I feel like I'm resourceful, and you may be able to relate to this, is I can, in some weird way, prevent bad things from happening that does not show up on a financial document like a P&L sheet or a balance sheet. And a lot of times in business, people get rewarded for things that you can see. Like for instance, in the car business, people get rewarded for like numbers of sales. Like if you sell a lot of cars in a week, sell a lot of cars in a month, those salespeople and those managers, they get rewarded for those sales because that's what shows up on paper. But on the back end, there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that don't immediately show up, that go unrewarded, that cause those sales to happen or create those sales in a way that isn't rewarded. So preventing something bad from happening may not show up in a sale, but it made that sale more profitable, or it made that sale possible for that general manager and for that salesperson. So preventing a tragedy and preventing bad things from happening and preventing loss, being resourceful on the back end, doesn't necessarily show up easily on those documents, on those financial documents or on those reports. But resourceful people are so valuable to the organization, and even in your family unit, if we're not talking about business or we're talking about family, having resourceful people in your family unit is invaluable. And again, it doesn't always show up in doesn't always show up as the person that's like maybe the life of the party or whatever the case is. But when it comes to, like, say, there's all these videos floating around social media about dads that travel and how they travel and how they're prepared and how they're ready and how they have everybody's passports and tickets, and that resourceful person that's making the best use out of every single thing that they can. It doesn't show up on the scoreboard, but it does increase the value of the time you spend together on that trip, and it does increase the value and how much time and how much fun you actually have, even though those things seem small and they seem petty, or they don't seem to hold any value, but in reality they actually do. So I would not discount, if you have the ability to be resourceful, I would not discount that ability, and I would use that ability to your advantage. And when I say advantage, I don't mean by taking advantage of other people, but I'm saying by making yourself as resourceful as possible, you can make yourself more valuable and make that skill set known, because people, particularly employers, are looking for resourceful people. There's, most people show up to work and they're there to ride the clock or get through the day or punch in and punch out or whatever the case is. I promise you, wherever you work, whatever you're doing for a living, your boss, your employer, your management, your ownership, they appreciate and they value resourceful people. And if you can find a way to start, I don't know necessarily document that, but bring that to light and show people around you that your resourcefulness does, in the long run, does at the end of the day, end of the week, end of the month, it does show up on the scoreboard. That is a value that I promise you will increase your value in your network, in your family, in your business, at your job. But being resourceful is a huge, huge value. And like I said, it didn't seem like that. That's not a profound thing, but it felt profound when he said it, because I do see so many people are wasteful when it comes to their time, their efforts, their work ethic, all these things. People are very wasteful. So being resourceful is a rare skill, and whether you were born with it or whether you acquired it and you just fine-tuned it just by being your natural self, being resourceful is a very, very, very valuable resource, and I highly recommend using that to your advantage, not only to help yourself but help the people around you. It's a game changer, and I promise you it's a lot more useful than you probably consider, because like I said, it's just something that's sort of you're just used to doing it all the time, and it doesn't seem of any value. But I promise you, if you start paying attention to it, start looking at it, and start finding ways to make it useful for other people, it will make a huge difference in the impact that you make on not only your life but the people around you. And with that being said, I want to kind of segue into the next thing. It's just in the past week. I know I talk a lot about this, and I don't want to sound morbid or sick or demented or anything like that, but I talk a lot about time and life and death and how we never know when our time is up here in this place. And in the past week, and actually on the same day about a week ago, I lost two people in my life. One I had met in the past couple years, and another one that I'd lost contact with years and years ago, but we went to school together. But they both lost their life on the same day. And when someone near me or someone that I know loses their life, I think I probably stop and think about it more than most people do, and everybody deals with and copes with and grieves loss differently. So I'm not going to sit here and say that, these people were the most important people in my life and I'm devastated that they're gone, because that's not the case. I mean, they had, someone I hadn't talked to in decades. Like I said, I went to school with this person, and then the other person is somebody that I know and I've gotten to know over the past couple of years, and they have much closer network of friends and family and relationships that I don't even come into their outer orbit. I'm barely even there. So I'm not saying that I'm super close to these people, but when somebody I know or have known in the past, whenever they pass, I just look at it so differently than I think most people do, because it just makes me stop and think about how valuable our time is. And I know other people look at it that way too, because whenever you lose somebody, you always are stuck with these what ifs, and you're left with this hole in your life that is there. There was this person, there was this person that was in your life in whatever capacity, and you had them as a friend, you had them as a coworker, you had them as a parent, a child, in whatever capacity for whatever amount of time. And whenever they're gone, of course, you start to wonder if you could have spent more time with them, or you wish you had more time with them, of course. And it makes me have a higher sense of urgency on the things that are important to me. And I know when most people are going through a grieving process, they start to draw other people near to them that they care about, and they want to spend more time with those people. And for whatever reason, I guess I'm just kind of some sick weirdo, but in a way, it causes me to distance myself from people. And probably for a couple of reasons. One is it hurts to lose somebody. Whenever you're close to somebody, and the closer they are, the more it hurts, and the longer it takes to get over it, the longer it takes, I say get over, it's probably not the right word, the longer it takes to be able to understand it, to be able to find peace in it, to be able to cope with it, and to be able to move on without this person, without it being excruciating pain every minute of every day. So I don't want to say get over it, that's not what I mean. I mean to be able to cope with it and go on with life without this person. So I distance myself from people when things like this happen, because one, I can't, it's hard for me to tolerate the pain of losing somebody, especially when they're close to me. Like I struggle with that. And then also it gives me a sense of urgency in my own life to realize that death is certain. There is nothing in life as certain or more certain than death. Everything else is possible, everything else could be, everything else is a wish, everything else is a want. But the only thing that we all know for sure is that we're all going to be gone someday. And when somebody, especially the girl I went to school with, it was extremely sudden. She passed in a car accident, and things like that are extremely tragic, and they're very sudden, they're very unexpected, and it leaves a gaping hole in people's lives and their family, their kids, their spouses. It's tragic, and many times it destroys people mentally for the rest of their lives, or it destroys their relationship for the rest of their life. And when those things happen, like I said, it gives me a sense of urgency that I just understand a little better every time I lose somebody or find out that somebody I know passes. It brings home to me that how urgent and how important our time is to get the things done that we are here to get done. And like I said, in some weird way, that causes me to distance myself from people, because the more relationships I have with more people, the more I sort of feel drawn away from what I'm put here to do, as if it's some sort of distraction. And that doesn't mean that I don't care about people. That doesn't mean I don't want to talk to people and get to know people and have relationships outside of this mission that I feel like I'm on. It just makes me sort of recalibrate and understand that it's my responsibility to do these things. And sometimes when I'm with other people, I'm not necessarily with them or doing the things that I want to do. I'm doing the things that they want me to do because it's comforting for them, or I don't think this is possible, but let's just say somebody enjoys my company. Like, somebody might enjoy spending time with me, which I don't know why they would, but if they did, like, they're in it for them. They're in it because for some reason, in some way, I'm, entertaining to them, or I'm bringing them comfort or bringing them laughter, or whatever the case is. Like, they're in it for them. They're not necessarily in it for me. And I know that's a very selfish sounding thing to say, but the reality is that the mission that I'm on is different than the mission that they're on. And they may be on a different mission. They may be on a, hey, I just want to live a life of relationships and be around people all the time and have a good time and laugh and joke, and that's the mission of their entire life, is to just relax and have a good time. And I'm not wired that way. I'm not wired in a way that I need to be in constant contact with people and be in relationships all the time to feel fulfilled. And some people do. So when I am distancing myself from people, a lot of times they get frustrated or irritated with me because I selfishly want to complete this mission that I'm on. And I don't know what drives me to do it, but whenever I am extremely focused on this mission, the people that want my time or want my attention, they don't understand, and they won't understand. I don't know, probably not very many of you, but on this wall in my apartment or my house or room or whatever you want to call it, a few years ago I wrote all over this wall in a black Sharpie, and it's just things that I learned, things that I read in books, just stuff that motivates me, stuff that helps me think, or stuff that I found to be profound at the time, that now that I can look at this wall any day, anytime, and just see something that means something and helps me keep going and helps me keep moving forward and reminds me of the reasons of why I do the things that I do. And it helps me stay focused on my purpose, I guess is what I could say. And one of those things that I wrote several years ago is, they don't understand. And I don't know exactly what I was thinking at that time, but it even today, it's relevant, because I have to separate myself from certain relationships and certain people sometimes. And it's not because I'm trying to be rude or hateful or mean, but it's because they're not necessarily understanding of what I'm trying to do. And if I don't give them what they want, they get frustrated and mad with me, when they just simply don't understand what I'm trying to do. It just, what I'm trying to do doesn't align with what they're trying to do. So they get frustrated and angry and upset with me because I'm not doing their thing. And I had to write this down and remind myself that people just aren't going to understand. They're just not going to understand. Like, when I see people that are super driven, super focused, they're on a mission, like, they seem like crazy people. They seem like insane people. Like, David Goggins is a good example. Like, if you're familiar with who he is, I mean, he's all over the internet, but he's got a book out there, whatever. But if you know who David Goggins is, you think he's an insane person. You think he's a crazy person, because he's so hyper focused on what it is he's trying to do, that he just doesn't care about what other people say about him. He doesn't care about what other people think about him. He doesn't care about what other people are trying to get done on their path and on their mission, because he's so hyper focused on what it is he's trying to do. And to me, extremely successful people are that way. They seem like they're the crazy ones. They seem like they're the weird ones. They're the ones that are, selfish or whatever the case is, because they're so hyper focused. But I think each one of those people, sort of in their mind and in their heart, they know that other people are not going to understand. They're not going to get it, because they're not supposed to get it, because it's not their mission. It's not their path. It's not their purpose. And I struggle with that, because I feel like it's my job to explain to people. Like, I have to tell people, to make them understand why I do the things that I do. And I wrote on this wall years ago that they don't understand. They're never going to understand. And it's just a lesson that I have to keep reminding myself that these things that I'm trying to do and this mission that I'm on, this purpose that I have, I can't explain it. I can't make somebody understand. It's like when I try to tell them and it just comes out like it's a different language and it doesn't translate to their mindset and where they are in their life. And it could be a path that they're on in their future. It could be a path that they were on in their past and they're not on that path now. But it's like me speaking a completely different language to people when I try to explain to them, this is what I'm doing, this is why I'm doing it, this is how I'm doing it, this is what it takes to do this thing. And to make matters worse, like I feel like I'm behind all the time. And I'm sure other people feel this way. You probably feel anxious all the time because you're not where you feel like you're supposed to be. So I spend a ton of time trying to get where I'm supposed to be so I can get rid of that anxiety of being constantly feeling like I'm behind. No matter how much I do, I feel like I'm still behind. Doing okay on time. I'm gonna start trying to make these a few minutes shorter and maybe make a few more, but make them shorter because I know you guys get bored and who wants to watch a half hour of me rambling. But anyway, I may have told you the story in the past week or two, but I go to a group from time to time. They have a weekly meeting. I don't make it every week, but I go to this group. It's a nourishing group. They don't call it networking. They call it nourishing because we want to build each other up and help each other and encourage each other because what we choose to do is very difficult. And there's not a lot of people out there that choose this path. And we just use this as a way to support each other. But at this group, I was talking to this guy. He owns his own business. He's an electrician, so he owns an electrical business. And he's married, he's got kids, he's got this business, and he's a younger guy, and he has employees, and he looks at these guys that are even slightly younger than him like he's a father figure to them or a big brother figure to them, and he's trying to mentor them and help them grow, not only as employees, not only as electricians, but as father and as men. And he asked me, he's like, I see all the things that you're doing, and he's like, I just don't see how you do them all. He goes, I just feel like I'm not doing enough. And I told him, I was like, that's never gonna go away. That's never gonna go away. That's part of who you are. Like the entrepreneur spirit that you have that made you step out and go out on your own, that made you step out and start your own business, that sort of drive, that is good. That is the same drive that is the never enough drive. Like you're never gonna feel like you do enough jobs in the day, that you have enough employees, that your company's big enough, that you do enough for your family, that you do enough for your kids, that you do enough for your community. Like that's never gonna go away. That's what drives you to do more. That's what drives you to make it bigger. That's what drives you to want to do more community stuff in your community. And when he says that to me, the person that I think of is the person that runs that meeting. Like the person that runs that meeting is somebody that I look up to as a mentor, and I can't figure out how they get all the things done in the day that they do because they have multiple businesses, they have a family, they coach their kids' sports, and they're a musician, and they play in their church band. Like this person does all these things, and I'm like, how is it possible for this person to get all these things done? And I guess that's the ladder that we have established, and we look at each other this way. Like we look up to each other, and it helps us realize that these things are possible and these things are doable, and you just got to find a way. And if anybody's done it in the past, then you can do it. And if anybody else has done it in the past, I can do it. So it helps us work together and inspire each other to do more and figure out ways to get there and lift each other up and find ways to make it happen. So going back to not wanting to be morbid or anything, but going back to this idea that life is short and you have to make these things happen now because you don't get another chance. You don't get more time. When it's your time, it's your time and it's over with. And you just have to come to the realization that the people around you, and it could be people that are close to you, it could be, could be parents, could be kids, could be a spouse, could be coworkers, could be friends, could be lifelong friends. Whatever your mission is, whatever your purpose is, people are not going to understand. And it's not your job to explain it to them. You don't have to tell people what you're doing or why you're doing it. It's inside you. It's inside you for a reason, and it belongs to you. And you need to make that thing happen today because you don't know how many more tomorrows that you have. People leave this earth every single day in every way imaginable, And it's your responsibility to live out your purpose, and you don't owe anybody an explanation. They do not understand, they will not understand, and you don't have to explain it to them, I promise. You can live your life, fulfill your meaning, fulfill your purpose, chase your dreams, and be resourceful in whatever way possible to make your dreams happen. But you don't owe anybody an explanation. They don't understand, they will not understand, and it's not your job to explain it to them. And people are going to be upset with you. That's just the reality of the world we live in. You can look at politics, you can look at anything, and realize that no matter what decision you make, at least half the people are going to be upset about it. And that's best case scenario. So stop people pleasing, stop trying to make everybody happy, stop procrastinating, get up, get moving, get started, chase your dreams, chase your purpose, chase your meaning. If you don't know what those things are, start looking for them. You will find them along the way. Don't think that you have to have all the answers to get started. You will find out everything you need to know along the way. So I'm going to cut it a few minutes short tonight. Like I said, I'm going to start trying to scale these things back and make them a little shorter. But like I said, man, life is short. You got to get after it. You got to get started. I think I said it a week or two ago, and I can't remember whose quote it is, but you don't have to be great to get started, but you got to get started to be great. So you need to get going. You need to get moving. Life is short. You probably have more days behind you than you do in front of you, and you need to take that serious, and don't worry about explaining it to everybody. Just get going. Just get going, get moving, do your thing, and it'll be all right. It'll be all right. You don't have to find a way to explain it to everybody in the world. Everybody you've ever met doesn't need to understand your meaning and your purpose. You just need to get going. So anyway, hope y'all take care. Like I said, life is short. Hug your loved ones. Text them, call them. Another profound thing that I heard years and years and years ago. Here I am, like not cutting this video short like I said I was going to, but another one of the most profound things I ever heard. I was pretty young. My uncle had taken his own life, and his son was in high school at the time. So my cousin was in high school at the time, and I'll never forget this. At his funeral, at my uncle's funeral, my cousin said a few words about his dad, and one of those things was, if you love somebody, tell them, because you never know if you're going to get another chance. So those words stuck with me up until this day, and I think about that all the time. So if you love somebody, just remember that life is short. You never know if you're going to get another chance. So if you love somebody, tell them. You never know if you're going to get another chance. So y'all take care. I love you. Bye.